everybody. Zach again at newtotorah.com. Wanted to come in and do a video for you. I wanted to do a topic that I've touched on already previously, but I think it's important enough that we need to address it again because I'm just getting inundated with this question about the Shmita and the Jubilee cycle. And I got an email yesterday, I think, about this topic, and it was really well worded, and I thought it'd be good to address again. But I went back to try to find it, and I can't find it because I get too many emails from Twitter and Facebook and my website that I just, or the comment section on my website that I just can't. They get lost. But I know a lot of you are asking this question, and it has to do because there's a lot of teachers out there right now who are teaching that we have to keep the Jubilee and the Shmita cycle that's coming up this next year. And I did a little bit of a video about this, and I'm going to link to that video in the bottom description of the YouTube video. So if you go to my YouTube channel and watch this video, it's in the description, the video that I've already done on this topic. But I feel like I need to do it again because there's just so much confusion going on out there, and people are asking, what are you going to do? What should I do? Help me address this. And really this stems from a desire from you all out there to want to keep the commandments, to keep God's instructions, because you realize, because 1 John 5:3 says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous, they're not burdensome. You realize that, listen, the way I love God is to keep his commandments. And that's the same way it is with any parent-child relationship. The parent loves the child, okay? And the way the child loves the parent is to do what the parent tells him to do. You know, you ever heard that from your father or mother? My house, my rules, right? I'm giving you these commands, I'm giving you these instructions to my child because I love my child. I want my child to stay safe. And that's what our Father does with his Torah. The Torah is specifically for his children to keep them safe. It's not a fence. It's a guardrail, basically. A guardrail is to keep you from going off the road. And so what we do is when we read the Torah, the instructions given by the Father to his children to keep, we realize that those are instructions of love to keep us protected and insulated from the things of the world that are going to hurt us, to harm us. And so we keep these commandments because we love our Father. We understand that these are commandments of love. And so a lot of people don't understand that because they're confused with the traditions and doctrines of man that are burdensome. Those are hard to keep. It's hard to keep the instructions and doctrines of man. And our Messiah, when he was on this earth, constantly over and over again was telling us to, hey, avoid those things. Okay? Those are a burden. Whether they come from Judaism or Christianity or whatever faith you want to, that's out there. It's the God's Torah, the instructions that he gives us that are easy to keep. And so when we go back and we read those instructions, we see the Shmita. It's Leviticus 25 and Deuteronomy 15. We get to this point in our Torah and we're like, oh man, how do we do this? How do we keep the Jubilee? And there are teachers out there right now who are teaching that this is coming up. And people are asking my opinion on this. I have some of those instructions. I've been researching this topic a little bit. I researched it actually a number of years ago. Joseph Dumond has a great DVD series out there, and I have that DVD series. And I think it's very compelling. He has a good amount of historical and scriptural evidence to back up his claim. And then there's other people out there who have a differing point of view, and likewise, they have a good scriptural and historical understanding to back up their view on when the Shmita and Jubilee cycle is. So, and who is correct? I don't know. I come to the point where, they both make a good case. Both sides make a good case, and I don't know who's correct. And there's even other people out there who have a different view on when the Shmita and Jubilee cycle begins and ends. And they're a little more in the minority. But really, there's two basic arguments. And even in Orthodox Judaism, there is a differing point of view on when the Jubilee and Shmita cycle is to begin and how it is to be kept. And so if you go on the internet, you'll find all kinds of arguments here and there and everywhere telling you, their arguments for, when it begins. And both of them, if you research them out in great detail, are very compelling and have good scriptural evidence to back up each one. Okay? So really, what is it that you and I are to do? How do we do this? How do we keep this? Folks, I'm not going to take a position on this because I don't know. If I was going to tell you to do something, it's because I would be sure that I'm telling you to do the right thing. And there are some of these teachers out there who are sure that they're telling you to do the right thing. The problem is I'm looking at it from a perspective of wanting to know the truth, and both of them sound compelling, and even the third minority even makes some really good points. You got to research that on your own and find out what you think. Folks, here's the deal. Here's the bottom line in all this. The bottom line is that we are not in the land. Leviticus 20, and some of you guys are going to hate this argument, but stick with me here because I'm going somewhere with it, and I think maybe we can relate, okay? So the fact of the matter is we're not in the land over there. Okay, the Shmita, Leviticus 25, Shmita, just backing up, Shmita means release. Okay, that's what the word means in the year of release, release, Shmita. And it's first used in Deuteronomy 15, verse 1, the year of release. And Leviticus 25, it goes into a lot more detail of what takes place during that release and in the Jubilee cycle. And it's very clear, just from the beginning of Leviticus 25, that it's talking about that land over there. Folks, the bottom line is, all of the Torah is for that land over there. It's for that land over there. Practicing witchcraft, the Torah commandments about witchcraft are for that land over there. Why do you stone people who practice witchcraft? It's because they're in that land over there, and the land must be kept pure. Why do you stone homosexuals over in that land over there? It's because the land must be kept pure. Why do you stone adulterers or murderers or rapists or any of these things that the Torah talks about, the people who lie and steal and things like that? All of those commands are for that land over there because the land must be kept pure. It's talked about over and over again in the Torah. The land that he gives you for an inheritance must be kept pure. It must be kept holy, set apart from all other lands that you see around the world. That land must be kept set apart. It must be kept pure. And so that Torah, the commandments, are for that land. The feast days are for that land. Now, we are in dispersion. We are coming to know the Torah once again. The prophets have spoke about it. Moses spoke about it in Deuteronomy chapter 30. The first 2 verses are saying, hey, listen, there's going to be a time when you go in that land and you're going to mess up. And because you did not recall that I brought you out of captivity, I'm going to send you into captivity again. And there's going to be a time when you're in that captivity, Deuteronomy verse 31 and 2, that you're going to recall again the Torah. You're going to understand the instructions again the Father has given you to keep. And after you've recognized that, I'm going to bring you back, verse 3 of Deuteronomy 30. I'm going to regather you from where I've scattered you. Okay? That hasn't happened yet. What we do now that we're in dispersion, we've recognized that, number one, that the Father has given us a Torah, his instructions to keep. We have a desire, just an overwhelming desire to keep that Torah. We want to please the Father because we understand, what it means to be a child of Abraham, either physically or in spirit. Okay, and so we want to obey the commandments that our Father has given his people to keep forever throughout all of our generations. We desire to do that, and so we can't keep some of those commandments because we're not in that land. You know what? Part of Deuteronomy 25 is talking about possession of land. You don't own anything. If you're a citizen of the United States, you don't own anything. Oh, but Zach, my car's paid off. That's my car. You think so? Well, I'll tell you what. Stop paying taxes on it and see how fast someone pulls you over because you don't have the proper tags on your plates and then takes it away from you. Takes your license away from you. Takes your ability to drive away from you. You think you own your house? You think you own your land? The land that we live on right here is paid off. Okay, I'm out of debt for this land. But guess what? If I stop paying taxes on it, just wait and see how fast someone shows up to take it away from me. You think you own the land you're in? Think again. You don't own anything. You don't own your house. You don't own your car. You don't own the land. You don't own jack, folks. As soon as you stop paying taxes on whatever you think you own, someone will be there eventually to take it away from you or to limit your ability to use it because you don't own it. Folks, what's being spoken of in Leviticus 25 is actually something that you own, possession, the land that you've been given, the inheritance that it was given to you, the descendants of Jacob. You don't own anything here. And so what you think about the Jubilee and the Shmita does not apply to you here. It applies over there. Now, our desire here is to keep as many commandments as possible. We want to keep these commandments. What we're doing here on this land, we grow all of our own food. This is the first year that we have grown all of our own food. It's our, we just went through spring and summer. We've harvested a lot of food. It's the fall now. We've gone through just an amazing harvest with all kinds of produce that we've grown from our garden and put up a lot of that harvest, and we're still doing so to a small degree, into our pantry so that we can live on that throughout the year. And what we're going to do here on this land is, even though we're not in that land, is we're going to keep the Shmita on the 7th year. This is our first year on the land, okay? Year number 1. On year number 6, we're going to save, and we're going to remind the Father, because he often tells us in his word to remind him of the promises he's given us. And so it says in Leviticus 25 and Deuteronomy 15, we're going to remind him of that 6th year when he gives us an abundance of goods, an abundance of production from the land. And so we're going to take that abundance and we're going to store it. And then we're going to give the land a rest. Okay, and we're going to live on that abundance he's given us. And so that's our way of being in dispersion, of trying our best to keep the commandments, knowing full well that Deuteronomy 30 verse 3 has not yet come into play. And that Deuteronomy 30 verse 3, someday he's going to regather his people, and he's going to take us to that land over there when our Messiah's kingdom is established. The throne of David returns, right? And so at that point, the Torah is going to go out to not just the people in the kingdom, but to all the nations. And then we're going to learn Torah, and we're going to be in that land over there, and we're going to keep the Torah, the instructions that the Father has given us. And so at that point, it will apply. But right here, in dispersion, in this foreign land, amongst the Gentiles, amongst the heathen, amongst the people who have no care in the world for our Father's commandments, and who at every turn, are turning their back towards them. This does not apply. Okay, we should not participate in witchcraft. We should not lie to our neighbor. We should love our neighbor as ourselves. Leviticus 19:18. We should keep the commandments to the best of our ability, but understanding that those commandments, the Torah, where it was originally given to those people who were getting the inheritance of Jacob, promised to Jacob, okay, his descendants, and that we should keep that land holy and set apart. Okay, so the Shmita Jubilee cycle does not apply here today. And so we can only keep it to the best of our ability. And so a lot of people, hear me very clear on this, if you haven't gotten mad at me and turned off the video already. Hear me very clearly, folks, that people are being stressed out by some of these teachers out there who's saying you have to keep the Jubilee. Because right now we're still in Leviticus 30, verse 1 and 2. We're just now waking up to Torah. If you're going to go out there and tell people that they have to keep the Jubilee cycle, it's their first year of keeping Torah and their first year of understanding and learning about our Father's commandments, you're going to stress them out. And I'm getting a lot of emails from people who are stressed out. They're like, Zach, how do I do this? What do I do? I can't, this is, how do I prepare for this? This was already addressed. Acts 15, the Jerusalem Council. People were steeped in pagan idolatry, and a lot of the people who are coming to Torah understand that they're knee deep in pagan idolatry, and they're getting out of Christmas and Easter, and they're turning back to the feast days and understanding them. And what was it that the Jerusalem Council came to the conclusion of? Stop doing pagan practices, which were 4 things. Basically, stop drinking blood, stop doing temple prostitution, the fornication, stop the things strangling, which was also temple prostitution, and stop the idol worship. It was all about idol worship, idolatry, and that's what we're doing here today. We're waking up in America, and we're like, oh, I am knee-deep in idolatry. I'm putting up pagan, symbols, the Christmas tree, which is just a male, organ, in my living room. It's Baal worship. The back of our dollar bill has got the Eye of Horus on it. It's pagan. Everything's pagan. And so we're waking up, and now you're telling people and you're stressing them out that they have to do the Jubilee? Calm down. Calm down, folks. You stop doing these 4 things. Get yourself out of the pagan idolatry first, and then you will do Shabbat, just like verse 21 of Acts 15 says, and you will learn Moses. You will learn Moses, and you will continue to learn the Torah. Folks, what the Father is getting us ready to do is take us back to that land over there. Again, Deuteronomy 30, verse 3. You have to learn Torah first before he takes you home. He's not taking home a bunch of pagan idolaters, okay? You learn Torah first, Deuteronomy 30, verse 1 and 2, and then he regathers you. The first thing you got to do is get yourself out of all the pagan idolatry that you're doing. That's what we're doing. Do not stress out over this, folks. I know you guys, I get these emails all the time from people who are hearing these other teachers saying you've got to get ready for the shmita, and you got to store food, and you got to stop working, or you got to take a year off from work, or whatever it is. And people are stressed out, and what they're going to eventually find out, or what they're eventually going to do is say, this is too hard, I can't do it. And they're going to go back to their pagan ways. Stop stressing out. The 4 things first are easy. Acts 15, the Jerusalem Council. Get yourself out of the pagan idolatry. That's why I tell people, when you're doing this and you're learning Torah, and you're new to Torah, just start learning the feast first. Learn about the feast. Learn about the joy that it is to come to the Father during His appointed times and to celebrate and to worship Him. And get yourself out of the pagan stuff. That's good. That's where you start right there. And then the other stuff will come later. You'll find a good fellowship where you can meet with people on Shabbat, even if you're doing it by yourself and your own family first. But eventually you find other believers, because we're coming out of the woodwork, and Christianity is beside itself dealing with all of this nonsense. They're like, oh my gosh, where are all these people coming up and talking to me about the Shabbat? All right. So my main point is, don't stress out about the Jubilee. Don't stress out about the Shmita. Don't stress out when someone comes to you and says you got to do this. First, folks, you got to crawl before you can walk. Okay? And what we're doing here is we're trying to keep the Shmita on this land, but we're doing it in accordance to the land that we have here, not according to the land that's over there. This is our first year of growing here. We're going to do it to the best of our ability, and we know that the Father is pleased with trying our best, because that's all we can do. All right? We'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Thanks.